you will never take the actions and align yourself to those outcomes. You will never achieve it because you have to believe something is possible for yourself in order to truly go after it and put forth the time and energy required to achieve that goal. So I want you to think about this right now. Your thoughts become things. Your thoughts manifest in your actions. They affect your attitude. It affects your emotional state. It affects the energy behind your daily actions, and it affects how much effort you put forth in your life. So whatever you are thinking about every single day, you're going to see manifest in your life in some form or fashion. Welcome back to another episode of the Unstoppable Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Michael Crane. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please make sure to share and subscribe our podcast with anybody and everybody that you know needs to hear this positive message. Today, I want to talk to you about the power that you possess, the power of the mind, and I want to share with you one of my favorite quotes of all time. You should write this down. It's by Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich, Outwitting the Devil, one of the most brilliant minds of our times. He's already passed away. If you haven't read Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill or Think and Grow Rich, and you're somebody that wants to understand human development and yourself on a deeper level, I highly suggest you grab a copy of those books and start reading them. One of the best quotes of all time is, anything that the mind can conceive and believe, it will achieve. Napoleon Hill first coined that statement almost 100 years ago in Think and Grow Rich. And I love that statement. And let's break that down for a sec, because I want you guys to all understand that you are the creator of your reality. You are the person to blame or the person that gets credit for your results. The ultimate responsibility lies on you. So if you don't have what you want in life, it's because of the way that you think and operate. It's that simple. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're less than. It just means that in the past, maybe you didn't make decisions that got you to where you want to go. You didn't understand how this all works. And so I'm sharing these episodes and I'm living proof of what I'm about to explain to you. And it's the power of your own thoughts, and whatever you believe or expect to transpire in your life will happen. You see, a lot of people have exactly what they expect. They might not realize it, but based on the way they were brought up, what they saw their family members do, what they saw their community do, like the people's financial status, the people's occupations and the jobs they chose, their health. If you start to look at your own life and who you become, it's oftentimes a reflection of the way you were brought up. Now, this points to one thing, that your brain is so powerful, and whatever it is that you understand about life, whatever it is that you believe is possible for yourself and others, you will see that manifested in your reality. And so when Napoleon Hill wrote, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it will achieve, he's talking about people that want to break through that threshold of mediocrity and conditioning and rise to a greater level in life. In order to rise to a greater level in life, you first have to be able to see it, to understand it, right? That's conceiving an idea, an image, a goal, something that you want to strive for. You have to be able to envision it and see it taking place in order for your mind and your brain to take effect towards that image or that desired outcome. The second component is so important, and that's believability. If you don't believe that something is possible, you will never take the actions and align yourself to those outcomes. You will never achieve it, because you have to believe something is possible for yourself in order to truly go after it and put forth the time and energy required to achieve that goal. So I want you to think about this right now. Your thoughts become things. Your thoughts manifest in your actions. They affect your attitude. It affects your emotional state. It affects the energy behind your daily actions, and it affects how much effort you put forth in your life. So whatever you are thinking about every single day, you're going to see manifest in your life in some form or fashion. If you want to make a change, this is where it starts. You have to become hyper aware of how you're thinking. And you have to be able to see a place in life that's beyond or above where you're currently at. Let's say you're overweight, and right now you have bad habits around food and you don't exercise, and you want to become a healthier, better version of yourself. Maybe you have kids, or maybe you went to the doctor and found out that you have high blood pressure or high cholesterol, or whatever it is that they're telling you that's affected by your diet and lack of activity. So the first thing you would do is, well, you're going to start to envision or imagine what yourself looking healthier would be like. Like, let's say you're 260 pounds. Maybe you start to envision what it would be like to have pants that fit and not have fat hanging over your waistline. Or to be able to look in the mirror and see like definition in your muscles. Maybe you want to see a six pack. The first thing you start to do before you pursue your goals is you start to think about what it would be like to achieve those goals, right? This is you conceiving the idea in your mind, the image, the vision of what you want to achieve. This is so important. This is something that's going to pull you through the challenges to get there, the adversity, the setbacks, the excuses. You have to have that image in your mind. And the second component is you have to put some importance or reason behind why you want to achieve that outcome. That's when you start to create the believability, right? So like if you have an overweight body and you're unhealthy and you have children, and the doctor says that you have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and you know that if you don't change your eating habits and start exercising, there's a chance that you could die early. And that's a strong and powerful why, because you want to be around for your children and even your grandchildren. Now you have some type of emotion or impetus behind that goal. So you're thinking about being skinny, you're thinking about being healthier, you're obsessing over this image. Then you start to obsess over all the actionable steps required to achieve that goal. You start doing research, you start reading books, going on YouTube, going online. Now you start to understand about diet. Now you start to understand about certain types of exercise. Now you start to do more cardio in the morning. It starts changing your actions. You start actually pursuing that vision, right? That concept, that idea. That's how belief is created. Belief is created by making steps towards the outcome that you want. A lot of you right now want to change your life. And you know what that looks like, but you don't believe that it's possible, or you don't believe you can do it, and that's why you're not taking action. And you have to recognize that the belief in yourself and the outcomes that you want are derived by taking action. It's almost like having blind faith. There's something that you want to achieve in your life, and you want it bad, right? And you find a deeper emotional reason behind that outcome. Then you start moving towards that vision. You start moving towards those results. That's when you start to derive the belief. So when Napoleon Hill's saying, anything that the mind can conceive and believe, it will achieve. Yes, but it's a process. You know, manifestation isn't something that you do overnight and it just transpires in your life the next day. Manifestation is not something that you do that requires no action. It's getting clear on what your goals are and having that vision, having that concept and idea, and then having a plan, an action plan to move you towards those outcomes. And it's the constant process of coaching yourself, talking to yourself, believing in these outcomes, knowing why you want it, moving towards it. And honestly, over time, that's how you start to manifest goals and dreams in your life. What once started off as a mere image, a dream, a vision, can actually become a reality over time. And so right now, if you're stuck in your life or you have areas that are subpar, I want you to think about this simple concept. Getting very clear on what your outcomes need to be. Like, what are the outcomes and the results that you want to have? Get crystal clear. Write them down in as much detail as possible so that if I read what you wrote down, I can almost see it for myself. You see, because most of the time, our visions and ideas, they're personal and unique to us. They're special for us. They're given to you for a reason. But the goal is to create as much clarity around that goal as possible so your brain can recognize all those little details. Let's go back to the example earlier. If I just said I want to be healthier, okay, what does that mean? Like, that could mean a number of things. But if I said to you, I was 276 pounds, I went to the doctor, they said I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and I needed to lose 85 pounds in the next year to get to a healthy weight. So I started eliminating these processed foods. I stopped eating fast food. I started eating meats and vegetables and fruits. And like you went into this very detailed list of what you no longer did and what you were going to do. And then the amount of time you were exercising, what days per week, what type of exercise, and you had a very detailed plan. Now that would make it much more feasible that you were going to reach your goals because you had detail in that plan. If you have goals with vague details around them or a vague action plan, you're not going to be consistent because there's nothing for you to really focus on and aim for. But the more detailed your goals are, the more defined your target is, the easier it is for you to see it and move towards it every day. For instance, the person that just made that list about what foods they would eat and would no longer eat. It's very easy for them if they go to a party or it's the weekend or somebody invites them over for dinner. Like now they have a actual detailed plan that's going to give them structure and guidance to meet their goals. It's that simple. So you guys, if you're stuck right now in any facet of life, you need to get more clear on what it is you actually want. You have to have the ability to create these images in your mind of that life you want, that person you want to be. You have to be able to almost close your eyes and see it. This is something that takes active work. It's an active process. But this is the thing I want you to recognize. Just because you don't believe it's possible yet doesn't mean that you can't start to put these images together. All I need you to do is believe with just 1% of your being that somehow, some way, those images could one day become a reality. That somehow, some way, those goals you set forth could actually be accomplished down the road. That's all you need to start the process. You don't have to have 100% belief and conviction. Most people don't. They build that belief over time by taking positive action. If you're the guy that was 276 pounds, all of a sudden you start eating right, cutting out these processed foods and going on walks in the morning and working out, and you see your weight drop to 250. Suddenly that guy has more belief that he can get to 170 than the guy who never started the process. The guy who went to the doctor was daunted, was scared, didn't know how he was going to lose the weight. Suddenly he came up with a detailed plan and he trusted that process and he leaned into it with action. And over time, as you start to get a little bit of results, I'm telling you, that belief inside of you swells. Here's the secret, and this is something I figured out a long time ago. Once that belief inside you starts to swell and you start to experience what it's like to actually have conviction and trust in yourself, and you start to think, man, if I continue on this path, maybe I will be successful. Maybe I will achieve my goals. The key now becomes momentum. Don't lose the momentum. Don't sabotage yourself. Don't backslide, okay? You got to keep taking these actions and keep moving forward. And I'm telling you, if you apply this concept into your life, you can achieve so much for yourself in 2025. You can achieve health-related goals, goals in your occupation, financial goals, goals in your relationships, but you have to be intentional. You have to have a plan that makes sense, and then you have to be able to execute for long periods of time. Write this down. I'm telling you, last thing I want to share. When it comes to change and personal development, you got to obsess over it. You got to be your own coach. You got to create your own phrases and mantras that you recite to yourself over and over and over to keep you on track. You know, the one that I shared when I started this video or this podcast. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe it will achieve. That's Napoleon Hill's. I had that written down on a Post-it note in jail. I also had one by Aristotle, and I can't even think of the name of it right now. Hold on. I want to recite this for you because this is important. We are what we continually do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. I had that written down on a Post-it. I also had the words, how bad do you want it, written down. I had all these different phrases and mantras written down so I could see them. I would recite them to myself all the time because that was in my phase of my journey where I didn't have 100% belief. I was creating belief through my daily actions. But there's times where you have doubt. There's times where you start to question yourself. There's times where you've gotten clear on your goal, you know what you want, but you're still a long ways away from actually achieving that outcome. And so in that process, in that journey, that's when most people quit and give up because they get daunted and they start to doubt themselves. And so how do you keep going? How do you keep pushing through the doubt and the fear or the slow months or the times where you're being tested? It's having these positive mantras, these thoughts, being able to coach yourself through it, being able to have positive self-talk. Like that's the difference between somebody who starts and quits and somebody who keeps pushing through that adversity and discomfort long enough to actually get to their intended result. And that's what I want for each and every one of you. So, couple key takeaways here. Get very clear on your goals. Detail them with as much information as possible. So if I was able to read a paragraph you wrote down, I would know exactly what you want. Number 2, find a deeper reason behind wanting to achieve those goals. Who's it for? How's it going to impact them? What's the significance of reaching that goal in your life and for the people that you love and care about? And number 3, write positive statements. Think about positive statements. Train yourself to be your own coach with your self-talk because you're going to be tested with adversity and doubt. That's a normal part of the process. And as long as you don't quit and give up and you keep taking positive action, you will develop that unwavering belief that will allow you to manifest your goals and dreams in this life.